Hi there. Today's book is She Started It by Sean Gilbert. So this book is centered around a group of friends from high school. We have Annabelle, who is a stay-at-home wife. I guess I want to call her a trophy wife in a sense because she doesn't have any children, but she doesn't work. There is Chloe. She's an influencer. And there's Esther, she's an investment banker, and their other friend, Tanya, who is an event planner. I believe that's what it is, event or party planner, something to that effect. So they received a friend request not too long ago from somebody that they knew in high school, a girl named Poppy. Now, the crazy thing is that they did not have a good relationship with Poppy. As a matter of fact, they bullied her relentlessly for years. So they were like, okay, they're curious to see what she's doing with herself. They accepted the friend request. And then not too long after that, they received tickets, all expenses paid, to a private island. And along with the tickets, they were invited to a wedding, but also to be the bridesmaids. Now, would you accept this invitation? Because I feel like any normal person would pause and be like, okay, well, I don't feel too right about this, considering we never had a good relationship. And even if, you did go, would you go as a bridesmaid though? So anyway, they're like, ooh, it's a private island and, it's a free trip and to get away. Now, Annabelle's mom had mentioned to her, that she should probably apologize, but she didn't want to hear it. She didn't feel like what they did was that bad. Also, Tanya had mentioned that, but of course, she let her voice get drowned out by the others who didn't feel like they did anything that was too bad. And another excuse that they use is, oh, that was 10 years ago. Why would she still be mad about something that happened 10 years ago? So they arrived, and of course, they act like nothing had happened. And the moment they got there, really, the vibe was kind of off. Although she seemed like, water under the bridge, there was an undertow of resentment, which of course they were oblivious to or didn't want to see or just didn't care. So while they were there, they had gone up to hike on a mountain that's on the island. And while they were there, Annabelle was at the edge of the cliff and Poppy pushed her. And she laughed, oh, I was just joking. And she was scared to death. And I'm like, what kind of joke is that? And that should have been foreboding, but of course, they're like, okay. Then there was another instance where Tanya had said something and Poppy inadvertently or supposedly on accident spilled a carafe of orange juice on her. So it was little passive aggressive things. And then also, this was just a weird bachelorette trip because the other thing that they did was have a scavenger hunt. And so they went off into groups of two and they had separate clues. So when they went on their scavenger hunt, the items that they found were items that were related to some things that they did in the past, signifying an event of bullying that they did. And at this point, they were like, oh, well, why is she doing this? She's playing games with us. And instead of, seeing this as her still being hurt over this stuff and maybe they should apologize, they kind of blow it off. Oh, it was 10 years ago. And then later they kind of are playing around with the items and being funny. And she had mentioned that somebody was going to win like a bottle of gin or something like that. Now, the last clue that they found was a painting that was that of Poppy's final high school art project that they had ruined. And they found that, and it didn't. These people are so clueless or just remorseless, I guess. And they saw this and like, what is this doing here? So anyway, you would imagine that if somebody that you weren't friends with invited you to an island, that something's up. So firstly, we find that one day they found Tanya in her bed and she was dead. She was stabbed. And so they're like, who could do this? And, you know, they figured after a while that it had to be Poppy. Then after that, Poppy disappeared. Well, they assumed that she was killed because there was a lot of blood. There were blood splatters in certain areas. They found a top belonging to her that was floating on the water. So they're like, okay, she's dead. And who killed her? It had to be one of the three remaining friends. So, of course, the typical, well, prior to Poppy disappearing, she had revealed some secrets that they were keeping from each other. So one of the friends was cheating with one of the friend's husband that she didn't know about. And then one had a drug problem that she had been hiding for years. Although, you know, one of the friends knew, everybody didn't know. So all these revelations now caused the true nature of their friendship to come to the surface, because clearly they're all just frenemies. And then the other thing that she revealed, which was not really a secret per se, but that came to light at the same time, was that Chloe had made some statements that were homophobic while they were on the island, and Poppy posted them online. And so that caused her to lose a lot of followers and lose sponsorships. And of course, when they had arrived on the island, Poppy had taken their phone, so she couldn't do any damage control at all. And then the other thing that she did was she had sent a skinny dipping video that they had taken on the island via Esther's work email to her colleagues. Of course, during this time that she's on the island, she's, fired for sure. So everybody's life's in ruins. And so then now, Poppy is dead. So now they're turning on each other. And so one by one, the remaining friends are falling like ants. So the thing about this book is that we go back and forth into the past, but we go into the past via entries in Poppy's diary, in which she describes, how she came to know them, the instances of the bullying, all the events that happened, how she felt, and it was just heart-wrenching. I really couldn't get any enjoyment from most of the book, just because it was just so awful what they did to this girl. However, when Poppy was getting revenge, that kind of perked me up a little bit, because it's like, I feel like, and this is kind of bad, but in a sense, like, they deserve, to hurt too. And so, after they started dying off, one person was left holding the bag, basically. And we find out also, outside of these four girls who have done all these things to Poppy, there was somebody else in the class who she thought she was friends with that was a part of the whole scheme that ruined her final art project, which caused her whole life to completely fall apart. So I'm not quite sure. I have mixed feelings about this book, so I think I will leave this unrated, but I will give some pros and cons of this book. So the con is just the subject matter. It's really heart-wrenching. It's really sad. And like I said, I couldn't really take much pleasure in the book just because of the nature of the topic, the mistreatment of the teenage girl. And the second is the premise that somebody would go to accept a trip to a private island to be somebody's bridesmaid when you and this person never really had a good relationship and you were pretty much enemies. But I guess this is a pro and a con, because I feel like maybe the author is trying to illustrate how terrible these people are, that they would not pause as a normal person would and say, maybe this is not the right thing to do, but all they see is an opportunity to have a free trip and not consider the past and how their relationship was, and consider how inappropriate this would be for them to accept this. So the pros, I would say, is how descriptive the author was with these events, especially, a telling of Poppy's history and all the events that happen with the bullying. I know one of the areas that I found to be, I was impressed by, was when they described the artwork that she had for her final year of high school for their final art project. So instead of saying, this was a painting of XYZ, it was very descriptive in how, the artwork was done, the specific method and all that. So I thought that was pretty good. The other thing is that even though I didn't like the main topic of this, I found that this is an emotional book because I was perturbed. I was extremely sad about what happened to this girl. And I was also kind of angry in a sense, because this girl was doing everything that a normal and a good child or teenager should do. She was getting good grades. She wasn't getting in any trouble. She was, by all accounts, doing everything that she should do. And these girls just started picking on her for no reason. And, even when they weren't doing, even when, she wasn't doing anything to them, they found a way to embarrass her. If something good happened to her, they found a way to ruin it. Even when, she had gone to the prom, she got dressed up, had her makeup done, all the boys were noticing her. And then they were so jealous that they had to ruin that for her too. And another thing was that, this just really made me want to cry when this part of the book, because after everything was ruined in her final year of high school, she was conditionally accepted to her dream college. And the only thing that was left was for her to pass her final art project, which they had ruined. So she had gone to Tanya's house to see if Tanya could help her get some proof to show to the school that, certain things that she was being accused of wasn't really true. Now, her and Tanya had been friends since they were little. And so I thought that maybe there could be an ounce, if anybody of the four, an ounce of compassion would come from Tanya. And then when she showed up there, she was like, "What are you doing here?" And then she's like, pretty much saying, she doesn't have time for her drama and she's not fooling her. And, pretty much saying, if you're going to kill yourself, just go ahead and do it. And she didn't care at all. She was just heartless. And this just really, I could just feel the pain, from this scene. And it was just so, so sad. So prepare, if you read this book, to be going through a wide range of emotions, and especially sadness, just extreme sadness for what this girl was put through. So I guess I am recommending the book since there's more pros than con. But did you read this book? What did you think about this one? I feel like, none of these characters are good, but I feel like Poppy, in a sense, I could understand where she was coming from with the bad things that she did. But the other ones, I just can't. Even as adults, no remorse, no nothing, no reflection, nothing at all. So let me know what you think of this book.